On the Grueling Truth, more of a preview today, considering where we are doing it here right before the race on a Saturday. So everything's a little bit mixed up. But we're glad that you've tuned in. Should be a great night. Hopefully not too long of a night if you stayed up and watched the Xfinity race that finished early this morning, about 2 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. So it should be an exciting one. Hopefully Mother Nature does not have anything in store for us and we can get this race in at a timely manner because some of us actually have to head to the Sunshine State this evening. But I have my two enjoyable friends. One's waiting for the Colts game to start and the other one for the Bengals game. Let's go ahead to the Indianapolis fan first. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to finally be back on the air. Talking NASCAR, my favorite thing in the world.
Stay away from the Twitter trolls.
No, I've been twittering with Eric Braden. Do you know who Eric
It's
Braden is?
It's called tweeting, Steve.
Oh, is it tweeting?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, Steve. You can call it however you want.
Yeah.
So are you staying away from the Bengals and Rams fans? I know that's been tough for you throughout the week.
Oh, no, they've been all over me all week.
Yeah.
But it's been fun.
Yeah, but sometimes you just want to grab a helmet and bash one on the head. Joe, how are you doing? Speaking of Bengals and Rams.
I'm doing excellent, Ryan. I am about to take home the first annual Grueling Truth regular season championship. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited to watch the Bengals backups play tonight against the Rams. So it's going to be a good night altogether.
You got 11 races to go there, Joe. Be careful.
I said regular season championship, Steve.
Oh, well, that doesn't mean anything unless you're Chase Elliott.
That means a whole bunch. That means a whole lot to me.
He just added another line to his job resume, Steve. Leave him alone.
Small victories.
I'm moving up in this world. Moving on up.
Well, before we jump into a recap of Watkins Glen, I want to tell you that betting.net powers the Grueling Truth. Betting.net's your best bet to find an online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. And if you're like me, you may have won about $16 this week off of the Watkins Glen race. That's what I ended up winning. But Watkins Glen, really a tale of two races. One, it started off what looked like it was going to be in the middle of a hurricane. And typically NASCAR, you don't see a race start like that. But on road courses, they now have that option. And it really was chaos. You know, the cars ended up driving really well, but then the sun came out and there was 50,000 different pit strategies going on. Then guys were able to decide which way they were going to do it. A typical two-stop strategy ended up being closer to 3 or 4, unless you were Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson, who stuck to their guns. And at the end of the race, it really came down to those two, where Kyle Larson powered it into turn 1 and ran his teammate wide and went into victory lane. Let's go ahead and break down the top 10 for that race. It finished with Allmendinger in second, Logano, Elliott, Suarez rounding out the top 5, Michael McDowell, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Chris Buescher, and Eric Jones. And if you're wondering how well Ryan Blaney and Mark Truex were going to do for that race, not worth a shit. So you can tell they really had everything good to go for that one as they finished in the mid-20s. But Steve, you being the unapologetic Chase Elliott fan, I'm going to ask you first, was it a good race?
Oh, it was a great race. It was a great race. I love the start. It tested a little different challenge, put a little challenge in front of the drivers. Then it quickly mellowed out and the track dried out, and they had to make strategy of when to pit, when to change tires. I know, like Elliott, basically gave up his points in the first segment because he wanted to stay on the two-stop strategy. So they went ahead and ran their rain tires until the point to where they thought they were in the window to make it a one more stop strategy for them. And it played out well for him. So there was a bunch of different strategies going on. There were races within races. I felt that Elliott had control of the race, most of the race. But, you know, he got beat at the end. And I'm not going to say that Larson punked him or anything like that. It was a
save it a little bit because I got a second question for you here in just a second, Steve.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought it was a great race.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed the day.
Joe, same question. Was it a good race?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I got to watch the 20-minute recap of the race because, as you know, I coach football, and most of our games take place on Sunday. So during football season, I normally record the race. I got home after our football game and realized that I did not record the race. So I have seen the 20-minute recap, which basically highlights the race. And from what I've seen, it looked like a good road course race to me. Of course, Steve, you talked a little bit about the last lap pass or the restart with 6 laps to go, I believe it was, pass with Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, which I think, Ryan, you have a question leading into that, so I'm going to save my opinion of that. So, but from what I saw, what I was able to see of the race, it looked like a good road course race to me.
Yeah, I think what was interesting with the rain, it made chaos. I mean, there was guys pitting all different times, and everybody, it looked like crew chiefs just completely threw everything of their strategy out the window, except for 2 guys, and that was Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. Those guys stuck to their guns, and to be fair, Goodyear brought a really good rain tire because that thing lasted a lot longer than I think most people were expecting, because they were able to go while the track was still dry and not lose too much time. So I thought that, just going in spurts, seeing the different strategies, seeing who was going to play out at the end, I thought it was a really good race. The middle part was a little bit boring at times, but at the end of the day, you're going to have parts of that during the race. I thought the beginning was exciting. I thought the ending was exciting as well. But Joe, I want to hand it to you because you said you end up seeing that final few laps. Well, if you're watching a recap, that's pretty much what they're going to emphasize was that final restart. And I have a question for both you and Steve. And maybe neither one apply, but the question I'm going to ask is, when it comes to the last restart, who do you blame more for what happened? Do you blame Kyle Larson for running Chase Elliott wide, or do you blame Chase Elliott for choosing the outside lane?
Well, I think maybe that depends on who your fandom belongs to. I think I wasn't able to see all the restarts in the race, so I don't know which line that they were taking typically on restarts after the stages. I'm just not real sure on that.
Well, they did have the previous restart for when the guy spun out by himself, and it was the exact same. It was Chase on the inside and Kyle Larson on the outside, and it was just a typical restart. It wasn't.
What that looked like to me, I don't think that was anything malicious by Kyle Larson. I think Chase Elliott probably felt comfortable with that line going into that first turn, and I think Kyle Larson just sent it a little bit too hard in the turn, got wide. Chase Elliott obviously trying to avoid a collision there with his teammate, got pushed to the outside even further than he wanted, and Kyle Larson was able to jump out front there. Unfortunately for Chase, I think that put him a couple spots back. So, I think that's just good racing at that point. I really don't have any problem with it. I don't know if Chase Elliott fans feel any different, but anybody in that same situation, whether it be Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, or any other race car driver, I think that's what you're expected to do, is try to get out front on possibly the last restart on a road course.
Well, good for us, Joe. We actually have a Chase Elliott fan. I'm not sure if you knew this, on the show itself. So we will ask said Chase Elliott fan. And Steve, do you have more of a problem with Chase choosing the inside, the outside, more a problem with Kyle Larson running wide, or do you just think that at the end of the day it was racing and it's not a big deal?
Well, okay, to start with, Chase had taken the outside on every restart that he led. Every time something happened, he had success with it the entire race.
Yep.
The thing about that is that when you are in the middle of a race, you're going to be a little bit more careful dive bombing into the first turn and trying to win a race. And even on the lap 9 restart, Chase took the outside and was able to clear Kyle, who was on the inside on the turn 1. Then you're sailing. But I think I think the fault of this really lies on the 9 car, on Chase, because I think you got to look at it like this: with 5 laps to go, your crew chief or you as the driver have to be smart enough to know we're going dive bombing now. This is it. This is probably the last restart of this race, and the first thing you want to do is sail off into turn 2 in the lead, and then say, "Pass me." So I think the mistake made there was on Chase's shoulders for not taking the inside lane on that restart. Hard to argue because he'd had success on the outside lane the entire race. But I think at this time, you got to protect your lead and you got to get the lead. And once you get that lead, you're not likely to be passed. And I don't fault Kyle Larson at all. I mean, he did what Kyle Larson's capable of doing. He drove in there hard. He locked it up, his wheel up. He slid a little bit, forced Chase outside. There was no real contact. They claimed some of the rubber was ripped off of Chase's left front tire, the Goodyear thing. So I think the bulk of the fault lies on the 9 car over the 5 car for not taking. And I'm a diehard Chase Elliott fan. He made a mistake. He should have taken that inside lane and protected that groove going into turn 1, grab the lead, and then just say, pass me. And he didn't do that. And that cost him the race. And then he comes off, bitter. I mean, he doesn't say anything negative, but you can tell in his post-race comments, he's visibly upset about it. You can see him discussing it with Gordon and Hendrick.
The boss,
and who knows what was said there. And Larson feels awful about it, the way he won. Doesn't want, he's going to take the win. Sure. He needs it. But I would say the blame really falls on the 9 car.
Well, Steve, I actually feel the same way. I think when you get to that point in the race, you want to control what you can control. And I think when you choose the outside lane, you then let the possibility of somebody to run you up the track.
Right.
And he didn't dump him. It was very close. Any other track, it might have been a dump, but it's such a huge runoff there on the left side. I think he just thought that Kyle Larson would have had enough to respect going into it and racing a fair fight. And I think Kyle Larson has shown this year that he has less control of the car more often than we want to give him credit for. I think Ty Dillon would say that after trying to go into turn 1 and then it getting speared by Goldberg at Indianapolis. And then obviously you have the incident where Chase ended up getting thrown into the wall by Kyle Larson at Fontana. So I think a lot of things were given to Kyle Larson. I've mentioned that this year earlier. I think that everybody thinks that Kyle Larson is one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR. And I was like, maybe we should wait a little bit. And I just think we saw another mistake by Kyle Larson. And the only thing that bothers me about it is if I was Chase, I would be frustrated that I chose the outside because I let the variables come into play that now, I let somebody have a chance to run me wide. At the same time, I hated Kyle Larson's interview. Oh, I feel terrible about it. No, you don't, or you want to send it in. just be honest. I mean, all he had to say was, yeah, Chase is a regular season champ. I'm trying to get a little bit higher in the boards to secure my defending my championship. And I needed that a little bit more than Chase. And, at the end of the day, maybe I shouldn't have ran him a little too hard because thank God Chase is a great driver and didn't wreck because there was a possibility there. But just own it. I mean, I feel terrible. Okay, then don't take the checkered flag. No, you don't. I hate that kiss ass, just fake stuff. And then I'd rather have seen Chase go, yeah, great job. Yeah, great driver Kyle is. Because that's the part we love about NASCAR. I mean, that's why we love this sport compared to other sports because it's authentic. And even as hard as Chase can to say the right words, I mean, I wish he would have just held up a script and just read it right there in front of him. Any questions? And then just put it on the ground. But then you get a fake interview with Kyle Larson that's like, you don't feel sorry for it. You wouldn't have done it if if that's not the way you wanted to race them. So at the end of the day, I think it's to the point, though, that Chase Elliott and his level of giving for Kyle Larson's gone. It has been eliminated. Whether they're teammates or not, now it's just the 5 versus the 9. I don't give a damn who pays the checks.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be retaliation. I don't think.
No, not a retaliation, but no respect anymore. There's not going to be a respect given.
what was interesting was to watch. I watched that NASCAR Today on Fox every day. I tape it and watch it usually during the news hour instead of watching about Biden screwing up our country again. He said that they asked him the question about, well, how was the competition meeting Monday morning? He said, well, I was kind of told to do a whole lot of listening and to show a little more respect. And I don't know how to take that. The only thing I can say about that is I don't think he owes Chase Elliott any respect. He's a defending champion. And if Chase made that choice to take the outside lane, Chase should have known what he was getting himself into by risking going out there. Yeah, he'd had success with it, but nobody's perfect. Okay, and there was a chance this was going to happen. Larson just got the jump on him. You know, he timed it just as good as Chase did on the restart, and Chase did not get his fender out in front and control that lane coming in. That's on him. But the thing that I think Hendrick probably talked to Larson about more than anything was, hey, you could have easily taken out both of our cars.
Right.
And going from first and second, we could have been 33rd and 34th. It had that, you pull a move like that again. And I think that's where they told him you need to show a little more respect when you're racing against a teammate going into the turn.
Right.
You know, if he's out there and you're dogging him like that, don't dive bomb into him. Let him have it. And if you're that good of a driver, Kyle, pass him.
Yeah. No, I agree. I actually thought.
Yeah. So I think that's the message that came from Hendrick.
Yeah, I actually thought Joey Logano was going to wreck the entire field, but he actually played nice.
Yeah. Well, then you got Allmendinger back there too, who's as good a road driver as either Larson or.
Yeah.
You got Dinger back there, and I mean, he pushes Kyle. He gives Kyle the bump. He needs to get up on Chase, and I mean, it's a fantastic finish. I mean, even for me as a Chase Elliott fan, I can't say I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed Chase didn't win the race, but I'm not disappointed in the finish. It was a great damn finish. Yeah. That's all I can say about it. Nobody wrecked. Everybody got through it, and it. You know, Kyle Larson was the braver man that on that restart. Good for him.
Yep. And my favorite driver started doing burnouts for victory lane celebration 20 laps early. So let's go ahead and get into the news. Unfortunately for Kurt Busch, he has decided not to use a waiver, and he will not be in the playoffs. So that changes up a lot of stuff for tonight's race, and we'll get into more of that later. But other news, and I forgot to announce this last week, Bubba Wallace signed an extension at 2311 Racing, so he will be in the 23 car for the near future. Joey Logano signed an extension, and it sounds like that's going to keep him at Penske for a while. And then the surprise for most people is that Almirola signed an extension, but not just any extension. It was for multiple years. We mentioned on the show that Almirola had an opportunity to maybe renege on, and postpone his retirement. But what shocked me is that he not only came back, he's coming back for multiple years. So a tire test was completed at Martinsville earlier this week, and then Sunday, Ross Chastain was involved in a wreck for the 8th straight week. Out of all of that, gentlemen, besides the Kurt Busch news, which we will get to in just a second, is there anything that surprised you?
Well, I think Kurt Busch signing an extension kind of surprises me a little bit.
Kurt Busch didn't sign an extension.
Who'd you say?
Joey Logano, Eric Almirola, and Bubba Wallace.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought you said Kurt Busch, and I was like, well, I haven't heard that. I think maybe Almirola signing an extension surprises me a little bit, especially a multi-year extension. But Bubba Wallace, I mean, he's really the golden child of NASCAR right now, and he will be for several more years. And who doesn't want to keep Joey Logano still? He's still a big name. He still draws a huge fandom, so I don't think that's a surprise either.
Steve?
To me, yeah, I got 2 words. Silly season. Here we go. That's what it is. I mean, it's why they call it silly season. So all this stuff seems silly in some fashion or not. But that's how NASCAR is. That's what makes it good. Amarola probably is the biggest surprise.
Right.
And that takes an open seat away, really, because SHR was going to have an open seat, which you're talking about Kyle Busch. The other thing, and Ryan, I'm sure you're going to elaborate on this more because he's your boy, but in listening to interviews with Kyle Busch this week, it sounds to me like he's kind of resigned himself to the fact that he's not going to be back with JGR next year. I mean, nothing's in concrete yet either way, but he's kind of talking like, what kind of ride does he want to move into? A good, hard, hot team or a young developing team? But he's kind of made it clear in his verbiage that he doesn't think he's going to be back. And with the success that Gibbs has had, I think they're going to slap him into that car right away. I think they want to. And they're just going to let it go. And I'll turn that back over to you, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Kyle Busch every week for like the last 3 months. It feels like it's surprising that he's not signed. The name I keep hearing the most is Colleague Racing, and
I hope not.
I'll be very sad. I'll just put it that way. I sent the group message with you guys. I said it'll remind me of like when Ricky Rudd left Robert Yates and went to Wood Brothers, and I'll pop champagne for top 5s, and I'll hug my kids on top 10s, and if he ends up winning a race, I'll streak in Vivi. I don't know what else to say. I have no idea where this is going. I'm completely shocked by it. So I literally check my phone every day expecting news that he signed, and everybody's getting signed besides him. So like you said, Steve, there's a game of musical chairs playing, and there's just not a lot of seats left. So
no, they're closed. The seats are closing up. I mean, Almirola's was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the best team for Kyle to move toward, where you could say he's not going to lose a lot,
right?
But now that seat's filled up again, and I mean, there's just no room anywhere else. But we don't know who else isn't going to get re-signed. I mean, is Bowman going to get re-signed, or does he have a long-term contract? But I don't know that Kyle Busch would ever want to go back to Hendrick.
Yeah.
Everything
we do, it would just be pure speculation. I mean,
even
drivers.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, even drivers are doing their own podcasting speculation because they know it gets hits right now. Because nobody knows.
Nobody knows. That's why it's silly season.
Joe, you got anything to add to that?
No, the only thing that I kind of have in the back of my head is I know Kyle Busch it sounds like he's resigned himself, that he's not going to resign with JGR, and I kind of believe that. But also, in the day and age that we live in, I am skeptical of everything, and I'm not so sure part of this just isn't for the drama and the build up toward the end of the season, really. So we'll see what happens. I can't believe that there aren't other teams just chomping at the bit to get Kyle Busch. I really can. I mean, you're talking about Kyle Busch. He's one of the biggest names in NASCAR and the sport of auto racing in general. So that just doesn't make any sense that there's nowhere for him to go.
Well, Joe, there's no room. There's no room, Joe. That's a problem. There's no.
Well, you make room. It's a business, Steve. You make room.
Yeah, okay.
You don't sign Amarola. You don't sign Alex Bowman. You don't sign Bubba Wallace.
But at that time when they sign him, other than the fact of Almirola, they don't know that Kyle Busch is available. I don't get the Almirola resigning if Kyle Busch is available, other than what Kyle Busch must be demanding salary-wise to come race. And Stuart Haas says that's out of our league. It's out of what we're going to be willing to pay. I don't know the answer to that either. It doesn't sound like Kyle wants to take much of a pay cut to move.
And at the end of the day, we just saw this with the Cincinnati Bengals and Jesse Bates. Not to mix two sports here, but at the end of the day, if you don't sign a contract that somebody's paying you money and you're willing to sit out and not make any money, that's your fault.
Let me throw another black helicopter into this mess. What about Junior Motorsports fielding a NASCAR next year, putting Kyle Busch in that car? Whoa! That opens up a new can of worms.
Yeah, it's possible, but
yeah,
you're talking $20 million to start a ride and then try to employ the most expensive driver in NASCAR.
Hendrick
That's a lot.
backing in a heartbeat. He's tied to Hendrick. Hendrick will back that project in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, then junior fans would have to rescind their death threats from whenever he wrecked them in Richmond 18 million years ago. But I just missed the drama with Kyle Busch on how many fans were going to boo when he got to victory lane. But I don't get to hear that anymore unless people wreck. So let's get ahead to the biggest news of the week. And this is something that we've not seen before. And it involves Kurt Busch. And first foremost, we hope Kurt Busch gets healthy. The last thing we want to do is not see Kurt Busch ever step behind the wheel of another NASCAR for the rest of his career. This has taken a lot longer than a lot of us, I think, would expected on worst case scenario. He announced that he's not going to be ready for the beginning of the playoffs. And he has decided him and 2311 have rescinded the waiver. So that has now put Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney on points ready for tonight's race. And that being said, Joe, and I'll start with you, has tonight's race lost a little bit of momentum, a little bit of excitement due to the fact that it's not multiple people vying for one spot, or do you think that the anticipation and the excitement's still there?
Well, I think theoretically, if I'm not mistaken, all Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex have to do tonight is finish the race, and there's no possibility of them missing out on points at all.
Not on points, but if somebody else wins, Martin Truex certainly can be knocked out.
So they're still third and fifth in points, I think. Is that so? I think it still adds some drama to it a little bit because you're looking at the fact that both of them. If we have a new driver that wins tonight, say a Bubba Wallace, they're one of them. Truex is out of the playoffs, so. There's still a lot of drama there. Instead of going into the race and Truex already being out of the playoffs and having to get a win to get back in. So, and then Blaney being out, obviously. So I think there's still a lot of drama there, especially at a super speedway where typically some drivers that normally aren't up near the front, like an Austin Cindric, a Bubba Wallace, who's been racing relatively well here as of late, are up near the front sometimes and really pressing to win a race. I mean, that puts a lot of stress on a Martin Truex tonight. So, there's still a whole lot of drama going into this race, I think.
Yeah, well, Steve, as you know, in sports, a penciled-in victory means nothing. Almost as a Colts fan, when you have to just beat the Jaguars on the last week of the regular season to get into the playoffs.
That's rough.
Ryan Blaney, as much as it on paper seems like he's secure, he's still not. But has any intrigue changed with you with this news that Kurt Busch will not use a waiver and that we have two open spots instead of one?
All right. First off, in regard to losing to the Jags, we took care of that problem. We sent that problem to Washington.
That's true.
That problem's gone.
Where ACLs go to die on Washington.
Yeah. That problem's out of here. Hopefully, we'll never see that again. I think it up the stakes big time tonight. There's some factors here. Basically, it's created a race within a race, possibly. Truex, 26 points behind.
Yes.
I think 26 points behind. He's racing Blaney right now to secure a spot because there's a separate race going on there. There are 7 former winners of races at Daytona in this field who are not qualified for this race yet.
Martin Truex is not one of those.
No, Martin Truex is not one of those. No. You got to say a separate race. Blaney has to know where Truex is, and Truex has to know where Blaney is.
Right.
because one of those two is going to make it now for sure. Because we're only going to possibly, if we have any new winners, we're going to have one new winners.
How much should Martin Truex Jr. pay Cody Ware to wreck Ryan Blaney?
Boy, I would say as much as they can shell out if they want to get in the playoffs.
He'll do it anyway. He'll do it for free.
True. No, he'll see the 18 car. And
yeah.
I haven't even looked at the starting grid. Is JJ Yaley racing today?
He is not. It is actually just reversed. Or is it the order for tonight is exactly the finishing order from Watkins Glen. So oddly enough, Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex will start next to each other because they drove like shit at Watkins Glen and finished 21st and 22nd respectively. So
they will be by each other.
They'll wreck each other then
because Chase and Kyle are on the front row together to start.
Yeah,
and they didn't finish 1-2 at Watkins Glen.
Oh, I thought they said they were just going off of that.
No, there's some formula they use based on. There's a whole. It's an
Allmendinger's not in it. Allmendinger's not in this race tonight.
That may have moved him up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think the last 40 laps of this race is going to be some of the funnest racing we have seen all season long. I think there are going to be drivers who know their only way to get in is to win. And what I want to see is if the guys like Larson and Elliott just back away and say, I'm not trashing a car over this. I'm already locked. I'm in. I'm just getting out of the way of this mess. And you all can have at it on this one. It doesn't matter. Or if they want to go right now, the last betting odds I saw were Elliott was the favorite to win this race. And I don't know if that's changed. This was as of yesterday, but Elliott was the points favorite to win this race. So, and I don't see that coming either. Really, I think that Elliott's going to be cautious and not tear his equipment up.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's going to be any problem with Elliott or Larson. And I think it's these 7 drivers and more that are within the ability, in their top 30, and they know the only way to get it is a win. I think Bubba Wallace is going to drive like a bat out of hell. I can tell you right now, Bubba's either going to win or wreck, one of the two. There's going to be no middle ground with that young man. And I don't blame him. I mean, that's his chance. Because now you had 2311 having a solid car in the race in the playoffs. Now they're back to having nobody, and I don't think that's going to sit well with either Hamlin or Jordan. So
my heart tells me Bubba Wallace is going to finish well, and my logic tells me he's probably going to wreck out.
Yeah, well, I'm with you, Joe, on that one a big time. So I'm just giddy. I mean, there's a Colts game on the same time, and I know it's a preseason game. But living out here in LA, I don't get a lot of the Colts news out here. So any chance I get to watch the Colts, I'm all over it. Even if it's a preseason game, I ain't turning the damn Colts game on today. This is all about Daytona here. I got bratwurst going on the grill. I got my wife cooking homemade potato salad, and we're just gonna have a good old fashioned, fun frickin' party. As Clark Grill.
Hey, bring me another bratwurst.
Yeah, give me another bratwurst. Drinking my LaCroix water. There you go.
That's ridiculous.
That tastes like LaCroix, but that's okay.
It does. It's not very good, but it's healthy.
Bring me a bratwurst and a LaCroix water.
So I think you're in for a lot of sub races. These guys that think they can win this race are going to try and push themselves up front. They're going to drive like bats out of hell, all of them. And I want to see what the veterans are going to do that are already locked in, how they're going to play this out. It's going to, and then you got the points race going on between Truex and Blaney. They got to stay out of trouble. Yeah. I mean, one of them goes out, one of them gets Corey LaJoy early. That's it for them.
Well, and Martin has to race. I mean, like, he can't just sit back and play it.
No, he's
coy. He has to race. Ryan Blaney really doesn't have to. He can just try to, skate by and hopefully doesn't let disaster happen, which it doesn't work either at Daytona. But at the end of the day, Martin Truex does have to race. But Joe, I got a question for you. How much do you think NASCAR pressured Kurt Busch in 2311 to say, hey, we need to know if you're in or out for the playoffs? Because the last thing we need is to have this all settled, and then in the middle of the week, Kurt Busch go, hey, I'm not ready. And then NASCAR go, oh, well, now this guy's now into the playoffs. So congratulations. Do you think NASCAR was there every step of the way and kind of forced 2311's hand into making this decision now before Daytona?
I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, if you think about it, that makes sense for them to do that. But I think Kurt Busch is a pretty respectable guy too, and I think he knew that he probably wasn't ready, and I think he made that call, understanding the implications it has if he goes into next week and he's not ready still. So, yeah. I kind of feel that this was on Kurt Busch to say, hey, I'm not going to be ready. I don't want to take the chance of the possible implications of me using this waiver and then us getting the next Thursday and I'm still not ready to go.
No funny business?
No.
No funny. Okay. There's plenty of conspiracies out there. There's plenty of conspiracies out there.
The one thing is, I know Kurt Busch too is going through, I think, a somewhat messy divorce right now too. I don't know if that's playing into any of this at all or not.
Yeah. I don't know how messy it is, Steve. I don't know how messy that divorce is, Steve. I'm pretty sure Kurt Busch had a prenup, so I don't know how messy it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing is for certain that we hope we see Kurt Busch at the end of the year. He's still available. The 45 car is still there in owner points, so that even though a driver is not available for a championship, the 45 car still is. And typically whoever wins the NASCAR championship, the driver also wins the owner championship. So if Ty Gibbs and the combination of Kurt Busch still win in the playoffs, they still have that opportunity because they don't forfeit their right to the owner championship. It's just the driver forfeiting his right for the driver championship. So, yeah. Well, Joe, you want to go ahead and recap our point situation since you already touted yourself as the regular season champion unofficially?
Well, unofficially, I mean, really, I am the regular season champion because all I have to do is pick the exact same drivers that Steve does this week, and I win. So it's as easy as that for me. But right now, currently, I am at 107 points after last week. Last week as well. And I'm leading Steve by 3 points. He's at 104, and you are at 805. And of course, we've known for a couple weeks that you are not in the running anymore because we essentially would have had a loss and you would have to gain 9 points every week. So that's where we currently are. So, Steve, I lead you by 3 points going into the last race season. And since I won last week with 9 points, I'm going to go ahead and let you start this off this week with your picks.
I'm not picking ahead of you.
You have to.
That ain't happening.
You have to.
No, I don't have to do shit.
Well, then you forfeit.
Make your picks, Captain Wood.
No, I won. I get the pick.
You don't watch it yet. There's all on the race tonight.
It's my off.
Make your picks, cheese ball.
Nope.
I think
we're not changing the rules.
Steve has PTSD from other shows on the Grueling Truth. I think this is hitting Steve hard.
I played that game with Good Pastor and lost damn NFL thing by 1 point last year. So make your damn picks.
How about this? I'll play Switzerland and
there are no rules.
I'll go first. So my 5 picks are Joey Logano, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, and I think this driver ends up having a good race. And I'll say Ryan Blaney, and then because I normally pick one guy that ends up scratching your guys' heads, I'm going to go with the former Kyle Busch the future Kyle Busch number 16, Justin Haley.
Those are terrible. Steve, you're up.
Nope, go ahead, Joe. It ain't happening.
How this works, Steve?
No, you haven't won anything yet. Make your picks.
I am the champion
I
from
picked
last
first
week.
last week.
Horseshit.
I picked first
I get
last
to pick
week.
you. Well, Steve forfeits this
picks.
week, so I guess we're moving on.
All right, well then make your picks.
I will hold you out. We will go 2 hours and 50 minutes on this show or until we're kicked off.
Hey, you know what? I took a shit 10 minutes before we got on the air, so I don't have to do that the rest of the day either.
This is an inside look of how MLB negotiations go.
Yeah. Make your picks, Joe.
I'm holding out.
All right.
Elliott,
well, we're
Larson,
done. Wrap
Blaney,
it up, Brian.
Truex, Bubba Wallace.
What do you say?
Elliott, Larson, Blaney, Truex, Bubba Wallace.
Okay. I'm completely different than you. See, it doesn't matter.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
I got Elliott, Hamlin, Wallace, Keselowski, and Blaney.
That's only 4.
No. Elliott, Hamlin, Wallace, Keselowski, and Blaney.
Yeah, that's 5.
That's 5, Mr. Math Major.
That's the guy we've been letting do our points this entire time,
points
Steve.
are right. Hell, yeah, he told me I only had 5 points, and I had to correct him the fact that, so you only got 5 points. But no, I got the winner, 5 points for. And then he said, the winner only gets 3 points. Bullshit, the winner's gotten 5 points all year long. He can't even get the damn points right.
Elliott, Hamlin,
Why don't we put him in charge of this crap, Brian?
Hey.
This is knuck and fuck.
Steve, shut up. Elliott, Hamlin, Keselowski, Wallace, and who?
What radio station are you guys at? They better up their equipment game because you both sound. We can't even hear you.
Well, we're not a radio station.
Oh, okay.
It's Elliott, Keselowski, Blaney, Truex, and Hamlin.
Not mine.
Oh, what was yours?
Elliott, Hamlin,
yeah.
Wallace,
that's what it was.
Keselowski,
And Truex.
and Blaney.
Or Blaney. Got it. Clear as mud.
Could be a big change here, Joey boy.
Well, gentlemen, I wish you two the best of luck competing against each other. Hopefully, Mother Nature does not give her the side of it, and that we're not trying to stay up at 1 or 2 o'clock. I'm actually leaving at 3 a.m. to go to Florida. So the last thing I need to be is half cockeyed on I-64 South because that race ended at 1 a.m. this morning when I planned to leave at 3. But
where does I-64 go south? I-64 goes
65. Don't
65 south. Jiminy Christmas.
I'm just going to get there.
God,
this tells me where to go. This, not a map.
You guys can't get numbers right to save your ass. Either one of you.
Jesus Christ. We're out of here,
that
Steve.
drive blindfolded 100 times starting at 1 in the morning.
Happy Daytona,
17 hours straight through from Indy to Orlando.
I'm taking my Atlas and going home.
Happy Daytona. Colts suck. See you all next week.